Tonight on Undercurrents, the Tylenol trap, how the news becomes a marketing tool.
It comes down to deadlines and editing and all that stuff.
Trauma drama, how real is real-life medical TV? Taking over Timor, virtually that is.
I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life.
Hi, I'm Wendy Mesley with a new season of Undercurrents. Recently, there's been buzz in the press about Tylenol and its Wayne Gretzky connection. But then the Tylenol people have always been creative about getting publicity. Anyone can buy an ad. They've succeeded in getting their message in the news. Every day, every newsroom is under siege from PR companies.
Any given day we get, I don't know, 50 or 100 faxes. You get 50 or 100 phone calls as well.
They might start off as a phone call to kind of a heads up about something. And giving you a heads up about a poll they're releasing in a couple of days.
Veritas Communications, right? I think it was Andrew. Yes, sure, Andrew, give me whatever you've got. So a 4-page fax comes over.
Here it comes. Now they must decide whether it's news or not. It's got all the credentials, a very serious-looking press release from a big Toronto PR firm with a survey done by none other than Polara, the company that polls for the Prime Minister. And besides, polls and surveys are always appealing to journalists. All those numbers look and sound like real news. If the PR firm, Veritas Communications, can sell CBC Radio's Dave Downey on the survey, he'll send out a story to more than 30 radio stations across the country.
4-page fax, list of experts. It's quick, it's painless. As a journalist, I mean, this is like serving up the story on a plate.
At Canadian Press, Marlene Habib supplies health and medicine stories to papers across the country.
The population sample that they had was over 1,000 people, which is a lot of people when it comes to a survey or a study.
The survey said 76% of Canadians are unaware that certain common pain relievers can cause serious gastrointestinal side effects, particularly stomach bleeding and ulcers. The certain common pain relievers referred to are anti-inflammatories like aspirin and Advil. The press release then points out that Tylenol works differently.
I thought it was news because, people get a headache, they get a Tylenol or they get an aspirin.
Habib runs with the story. Canada could become known for bleeding ulcers and stomach aches because of improper and rampant use of painkillers, goes her lead. It was picked up across the country. The survey gets lots of play on television, too.
A survey of more than 1,000 adults found that 3/4 of respondents had no idea.
Some common pain relievers can cause serious side effects, such as stomach bleeding and ulcers.
More scare stories about the side effects of aspirin-type painkillers.
ASA and ibuprofen are anti-inflammatories and can often cause stomach upset, bleeding, or ulcers.
Everywhere, suggestions that aspirin-type painkillers can cause problems. But none of these reports mentioned that the survey had been paid for by McNeil Consumer Healthcare, the makers of aspirin's big competitor, Tylenol. It was right there on the press release. Dave Downey saw it.
It wasn't, a news story at all. I mean, and we just decided, no way, we can't touch this. I mean, it's a paid-for poll by a drug company for the purposes of promoting Tylenol.
You did write that include in your story that the survey was conducted by Polara
Yes.
for McNeil Consumer Healthcare, which makes various types of pain relievers.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say that they're the makers of Tylenol?
Well, they did make Tylenol.
But it doesn't say that in your story.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, they make both of them, actually.
They make an aspirin type.
Yeah, they make an aspirin type, but not that brand name. Yeah.
No, but it's a small Motrin, and it's a very small part of their market.
Yeah, it's a small
Their
market.
big market is Tylenol.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't your readers have been better served to know that the whole thing had been organized by the makers
Yeah.
of Tylenol?
Oh, yeah, I know. It would have. But, it comes down to deadlines and editing and all that stuff. Like, I only have so much control. I'm the writer.
And then there were the pain experts. Journalists love experts.
Pain experts fear Canadians could wind up with a lot of ulcers and stomach aches.
Pain experts warned that Canada could soon become known for ulcers and stomach aches.
And guess where all those experts came from? From a list provided on the press release.
Joining me today at the QE2 Health Sciences Center is Dr. Howard Conter.
75% of the people questioned didn't understand the difference between the two basic classifications.
Here now to discuss the report and its findings is pharmacist Hélène Blanchette. Thank you for joining us.
Dr. Ellen
Jim Kelly is a general practitioner. He joins us on the phone line from his home in Edmonton.
Here with me now to talk more about this is Dr. Paul Whitsitt. Thank you for joining us. You're a general practitioner.
The experts had been recruited by the Tylenol campaign. Veritas, the PR company, told us the experts were reimbursed for 2 days' work, 1 day to come to Toronto to look at the poll, and the second for media interviews. The two doctors that you interviewed, they were both provided, their names were provided on the press release.
They were provided on the press release, yeah.
Why did you interview them?
Well, I interviewed them because I was on deadline. They were readily available.
Why not talk to outsiders?
Well,
Who's not on the list?
Well, because a lot of times they don't know what the poll's about, and they'll say to you, excuse me, I need a copy of it before I can comment on it. I may have had, like 3 hours to do this story. So from the time I do my interviews to the time I put it on our daily schedule to the time I write it and it's out in the wire, I've got 3-4 hours.
It's constructed to sway you, and then it's sold as research, when indeed it's marketing.
Dr. Bob Rangno works with a Vancouver nonprofit group that informs doctors about new drugs. He says doctors who participate in surveys should be wary. In the press release that came with the poll, the study, there's a list of doctors for reporters to contact. Does that worry you?
Yes, it worries me. Often these individuals may be influence leaders, so that by participating in the study, they buy into it almost unwittingly and then project their findings almost as part of the sales promotion.
We wanted to talk to the experts offered on the press release too, but guess what? They didn't want to talk to us, at least not on camera. Dr. Howard Conter did agree to an interview, but then canceled, saying he'd received a letter, quote, warning him about us, unquote, from Veritas, the PR company. And Veritas, while they were happy to talk to us on the phone, they wouldn't give us an on-camera interview either. The publicity professionals got skittish when it came to discussing the strategy behind the campaign. So, we decided to come to the Veritas office to ask Andrew Weir one last time for an interview on camera. After all, his very own press release says for additional information, please contact Andrew Weir. Andrew! Andrew, look, it says on your own press release. Look, it says for more information, contact Andrew Weir. Yeah, we'd like just a moment on camera. Still desperate to talk to anyone involved with the campaign, we drove to Guelph, Ontario to try and track down the PR manager at McNeil, the company that makes Tylenol. For 2 months, Annie Beauchemin had refused an on-camera interview. Today, her assistant had to face our line of fire. It's Wendy Massey calling from CBC's Undercurrents.
Oh, yes, hi.
Hi, we've driven out from Toronto in sort of one last effort to try and get her to talk to us on camera. We're actually in the parking lot.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if you could find her maybe and let her know.
Oh, she's on an off-site meeting. Like, she's not in the building.
Would it be possible to page her or call her?
I don't think she's available, though. Like, she's not in town.
Oh, where is she?
Out of town.
Because her voicemail message said she was in town.
No, she's not here.
Will she be back tomorrow?
I have no idea what her agenda is.
It sounds like you're stonewalling me.
Hang on. No, I'm just not sure what her agenda is for tomorrow. I'm just going to look it up. No, she's also out of town tomorrow.
We were able to badger Heaton Dyer into talking to us. He's the executive producer of CBC Morning. The program has a medical columnist, Dr. Howard Conter, whom they pay each week to talk about health issues. You remember Dr. Conter.
Well, the key things that we found out in the survey actually are 75% of the people questioned didn't understand the difference between the two basic classifications of over-the-counter pain medication.
Did you know that he was paid by the makers of Tylenol?
Well, I mean, I think as we said in the introduction, we said that he'd been involved in the survey.
You've been involved in a survey that you're going to tell us about.
But you didn't say he was involved in marketing the survey.
No, we said he was involved in the survey. I think it's fairly, you know, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to realise that if a doctor, a professional is involved in the survey, that he's been compensated in some way for his time.
I'm not sure that everyone would get that distinction.
Well, you know, that's your opinion. I mean, I've got to say that I actually have a regret with the way we introduced Howard with this segment. You know, while we did say that he was involved in the survey, what we didn't say is that the survey was paid for by or commissioned by McNeil.
The makers of Tylenol.
Yeah, and it would have been the simple addition of a line that would have, I think, clarified it for the audience.
That would have been enough?
Yeah, I believe that.
But then you're running with a survey that's been commissioned by Tylenol, interpreted by a spokesperson paid for by Tylenol, not talking to any other experts that talk about the side effects of Tylenol. He only talks about the side effects of the competitors, of aspirin.
Well, he actually mentions a couple of companies there. Let's be blunt here. I mean, if the assumption is that Howard is paid by Tylenol to say something that he doesn't believe in, then that would be questionable. I do not believe that Howard said a single thing there that, as an experienced and responsible physician, he does not believe in.
Most Canadians use...
While in Canada, Tylenol counted on experts and journalists to get their message out, in the U.S., the same information ran in prime time as a commercial.
Do you know why some over-the-counter pain relievers may irritate your stomach, while others won't?
No, I just know aspirin can do that sometimes.
The other type of pain reliever is the medicine in Tylenol.
Sound at all familiar?
His family comes to the bedside to say goodbye.
I had in my mind hoped that we would be able to compress reality and almost make it begin to feel like fiction.
The magical word for TV these days is real. The dramas are gritty or real life. And then there's the reality shows, the ones shot in real hospitals. But where does the drama end and reality begin? Asks Selena Bell.
Recognize this opening? It's ingrained in the brains of millions of people who tune into ER every week. Just look at the way it's shot.
Oh, another unit took him to Mercy.
Listen to all that medical jargon.
GSW times 2 to the left chest, full arrest, 2 lines in.
All the blood.
Whoa.
Leaves the audience with the impression that what they're seeing is how emergency rooms really are.
Time of death, 1509.
So if created reality can get top ratings, why not real reality? Like trauma, life in the ER.
Jacksonville is the jewel of Florida's first coast.
This one-hour show is set in real hospitals of major American cities.
And when trauma strikes, there's only one place to go.
It was as simple as just, imitation. You saw that this was out there, we could do it, but do it with reality.
The trauma team restarts Johnny Kelly's heart, but he's bleeding to death from the gunshot wound.
He's decided to put 4 cameras into a trauma center, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What could be more dramatic?
His family comes to the bedside to say goodbye.
I had in my mind hoped that we would be able to compress reality and almost make it begin to feel like fiction.
But when you're striving for fiction, what happens to reality?
Exciting, isn't it?
Unlike ER with its pretty performers and Hollywood budget, trauma needs real hospitals and real people to create drama.
If that doesn't bring him back, he's not coming back.
And that means access.
The hospital's not able to give us absolute access, we don't go there.
Leona Thompson is a producer and the program's chief troubleshooter.
Nurses are always very protective. It's always nurses.
So how do you solve this problem?
Well, you then try to talk to the nurses to help do allow you to go in, and if they are not allowing that, then you go above their heads.
See, look how his brain's swelling out. See that? I mean, can you get a sense of what it's doing? I mean, it's just swelling out of his head.
Were there any limits at all? Did they ever say, you know, if somebody dies, we don't want you to shoot that?
We could never go into a hospital with any kind of limitations in terms of our storytelling abilities. It just wouldn't.
But if a doctor makes a mistake, would you shoot that? Would you air
well,
that?
Well, we shoot it. You know, whether it makes its way into the show is another issue.
We are not there to do an expose. We are not there to look in and find out what's not working.
Their destination, as with any serious injury in Las Vegas, is University Medical Center's trauma unit.
So you've got your set. Now what about performers? I mean patients.
The wound is not a gunshot at all.
Oh my God.
We don't put anybody on TV who doesn't want to be there. And 99% of the time, the people that we approach want to be on TV.
Why do you think they say yes? Do they think they're going to get better medical care? Do they just want to be on TV? Or
15 minutes of fame? Maybe.
But just like ER, there's a formula. It's 5 acts, with the emphasis on action.
It'll be like this. Oh my God, you need an appendix, you need an OR. Boom, we go to the OR. Because there's nothing that happens in the exam. He's just sitting there going, you know, there's nothing there.
I think what we are giving people is a genuine, inside look at what it's like.
We'll just tighten that. If we don't have a lot, because there's maybe not a lot happening, we'll just compress that faster, quicker montage, exactly.
Discovery Canada tried its hand at compressed reality.
Trauma is serious injury.
This 1-hour special was set at Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital.
We had dreams of seeing our own ER unfold in front of us.
The major drama for the golden hour was provided by this unfortunate young man.
And he jumped over the bridge to save his life. He took most of the impact on his face.
Dr. Steve Mulholland was the trauma team's cosmetic surgeon who reconstructed the man's face.
When you look at the golden hour, the surgery doesn't seem all that bad.
No, it's more like the porcelain hour. They don't really they capture what's pretty and shiny, but they miss the elements that are gruesome and grisly, plus the very, very long period of time it takes to do that. You watch that show and the average individual might think, well, it's not that bad to get in a multi-vehicle car accident, but really it's an 18-hour procedure. There's extensive rehabilitation, there's post-traumatic stress syndrome, there's psychological counseling, and maybe at the end of 1 year you might have a reasonably well-adjusted human being.
Attending physician Steve Cantrell prepares the ER for the incoming chopper.
In all of these shows, the timeline is the first casualty. At Denver General, the producers of Trauma shot there for a month.
I think they had a little bit of problem with some of their continuity. I didn't realize they were trying to portray it as kind of a day in the life kind of thing, because it looks like I changed my shirt 4 times a day. About 600 pounds fell on his hip, crushing him. He's going over for angiogram of his vessels. Through your mind what your approach is going to be to this patient. I think that it may leave people somewhat with an erroneous perception that we are saving lives every 10 minutes.
The fact is, the Denver ER usually looks like this.
It's not as busy and as hopping and as dramatic as it came off to be, and people don't run with sweat on their brow from room to room, and certainly don't have that tension 24 hours a day here.
This so-called reality gets a bit confusing.
We're gonna paralyze the bug and we'll get him out of there, okay? Please.
Especially when the reality of trauma shows up in ER.
The show that I myself made, I saw almost the identical show, the cases done on ER. The woman with the cockroach in the ear.
With high-tech 3-dimensional magnifiers, the ear, nose, and throat specialists take on the roach in Christie's ear.
It's out. I got it.
So I think the real question is not what we get from ER, but what ER gets from us.
And this season, the producers of ER shamelessly stole from Trauma's sister show, Paramedic.
We're saving your life, man.
To create their new drama series, Third Watch.
Trying to save lives.
We need those ideas.
And in this monkey see, monkey do world, how about Made in Canada? 2 new series this fall, Downtown Angel of Medicine and Little Miracles. Every week, real doctors and real people in the starring roles.
It was hacked, cracked as a matter of fact, attacked, virtually of course.
The whole of East Timor had just been stolen.
It looks like East Timor may finally become independent from Indonesia. But on the internet, East Timor has had virtual independence for 2 years. Matt Cowan discovered that too can come under attack.
.tp. In the real world, a period followed by 2 letters doesn't mean much, but enter the internet and .tp becomes a virtual country. Now, this is going to take a little explaining. .tp is the top-level domain for East Timor. It's a kind of internet country code like .ca is for Canada. But online East Timor originates from here. No, it's not Dili, it's Dublin.
Connect Ireland, can I help you?
The guys at Connect Ireland said they'd maintain the domain as long as East Timor was being occupied by Indonesia.
We could, in effect, create a virtual country.
Okay, so he likes to call it a virtual country, but so far it's only populated by some very basic websites. So just how significant is .tp really?
This is the actual disk that they hacked.
That's right, it was hacked, cracked as a matter of fact, attacked, virtually of course, from 18 different places on the net simultaneously. It happened last January. Whoever was behind this online offensive took control of East Timor's domain.
The whole of East Timor had just been stolen.
I ran down and pulled the line to the modem to the outside world.
I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life.
Connect Ireland whipped off a press release blaming the attacks on e-Nazis and identifying the Indonesian government as the possible perpetrators. What would be the reason for them to try to capture the domain?
It's the castle, it's the flag, or however, the symbolic centre, if you like, of potential internet activity.
The folks here at the Indonesian embassy in London aren't too keen to talk about this story. They refused an on-camera interview, but did say they had nothing to do with the hack attacks. Still, the media told of terrorist hackers and electronic war.
But this virtual reality country in cyberspace is under attack from an army of unknown hackers.
But online, skeptics emerged. Patrick Burton is a Toronto techie who went online in search of answers.
There was some dispute about whether this was believable as a covert operation.
What's the general opinion about what happened here?
Well, the media finds it really attractive, the idea of sort of information terrorists and info war, but there's a lot of kids out there just trying to have some fun and amuse themselves.
.tp would mean something else besides East Timor?
Toilet paper, I understand.
Yeah. Whether the January hack was politically motivated or simply puerile, it didn't take long for .tp to find its way home. Connect Ireland overhauled its computers during its downtime, a total of 5 days. Niall, for one, is still pretty paranoid.
Yeah, it is the new form of warfare.
No casualties, and after 5 days, back to status quo. Call that warfare? Only in the virtual world.
Next week on Undercurrents, the PR push to make professors into media stars. He's promoting the all-new, updated version of his book.
Boom, bust, and echo, 2000.
This is good research and good teaching to a broader audience.
Works for us.
It's good for the university.
Sure, sure.
That's next week on Undercurrents. I'm Wendy Mesley. Good night.